You know, people always say that revenge is a dish best served cold, but I never really understood what that meant until I lived it. My name is Sarah, and I want to tell you about the most satisfying 6 weeks of my entire life. The 2 weeks that changed everything. It started on a Tuesday evening in March. I was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of spaghetti sauce while our 5 kids were scattered around the house. Emma, our 15-year-old, was helping 8-year-old Jake with his homework at the dining table, while the twins, Lucy and Lily, were playing dress-up in the living room. Our youngest, 3-year-old Mason, was clinging to my leg as usual, babbling about his day at preschool. That is when David walked in. I could tell something was different by the way he stood in the doorway, hands shoved deep in his pockets, that familiar look of discomfort on his face. After 18 years of marriage, you learn to read the signs. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, and my heart sank. Those 4 words, every wife's nightmare. I turned off the stove and asked Emma to watch the little ones for a moment. David and I stepped out onto the back porch, and that is when he dropped the bomb that would change our lives forever. "I cannot do this anymore," he said, not even looking at me. "I want out. I want a divorce." I felt like the ground beneath my feet had just disappeared. "What are you talking about? We have 5 children, David. We have a life together." He finally looked at me then, and I saw something in his eyes that chilled me to the bone. Indifference. "I know we have kids, Sarah. I am not abandoning them. I will support them whenever I can, but I cannot stay married to you anymore. I just cannot." Whenever he could. Those words echoed in my mind like a cruel joke. Here was a man who had promised to love, honor, and cherish me, who had created 5 beautiful children with me, and he was talking about supporting them whenever he could, like they were some kind of optional hobby. I stood there in stunned silence as he continued. "I will move out this weekend. I will try to help with the kids when I can, but I need space. I need to find myself again." Find himself. At 42 years old, with 5 children depending on him, he needed to find himself. The selfishness of it all was breathtaking. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in our bedroom, my bedroom now, I supposed, and cried until I had no tears left. But somewhere between the tears and the anger, something else began to grow. A plan. A beautiful, perfect plan. You see, David had made one crucial mistake. He assumed that because I had been a devoted wife and mother for 18 years, I was helpless. He assumed that I would just accept whatever crumbs he decided to throw our way. He had no idea who he was dealing with. The next morning, I called my sister Jennifer, who lives in Toronto. "Jen," I said, "I need a huge favor, and I need you to trust me completely." Jennifer has always been my rock. She listened as I told her about David's announcement, and when I outlined my plan, she was quiet for a long moment before saying, "Sarah, are you absolutely sure about this?" "I have never been more sure of anything in my life," I replied. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a woman possessed. I moved with purpose and precision that would have impressed a military strategist. While David was at work, I began systematically organizing our finances. I discovered things that made my blood boil: secret credit cards, money being transferred to accounts I knew nothing about, payments to a fancy apartment across town that he had apparently already secured. He had been planning this for months, maybe even years, while I was home taking care of our children and maintaining our household. But I was not just angry anymore. I was strategic. I started having conversations with the kids, age-appropriate ones, about what was happening. I did not badmouth their father. I did not need to. I simply explained that Daddy had decided he wanted to live somewhere else and that things were going to change. Emma, being the oldest, understood immediately. "Is Daddy leaving us?" she asked, tears in her eyes. "Daddy says he wants to support you whenever he can," I replied, using his exact words. "But Mommy is always going to be here for you, no matter what." Meanwhile, I was secretly making arrangements. I transferred money to accounts David did not know about. Money from my part-time job that I had been saving for years. Money from selling some of my jewelry. Money I had squirreled away for emergencies. This definitely qualified as an emergency. I also did something else that would prove to be crucial later. I gathered all of our important documents, birth certificates, social security cards, medical records, school records, and I secured them. I also applied for expedited passports for myself and all 5 children, claiming we had a family emergency that required international travel. David was so wrapped up in his own drama and his new apartment that he barely noticed what I was doing. He would come home from work, eat dinner with us like nothing had changed, help the kids with homework, and then disappear into his office to make phone calls. I assume he was talking to his lawyer, or maybe his girlfriend, because by that point, I was pretty sure there was another woman involved. On the Friday of his second week of announcement, David came home with boxes. He was actually moving out, just like he had said he would. The kids watched in confused silence as their father packed up his clothes, his books, his golf clubs, all the things that mattered to him. "I will see you guys soon," he promised them, ruffling Mason's hair. "Daddy is just going to live somewhere else for a while." 3-year-old Mason did not understand, but the older kids did. I watched Emma's face crumple as she realized her father was actually leaving. Jake tried to be brave, but I could see his little chin trembling. The twins held hands, their usual chatter replaced by worried silence. After David left that night, I sat the kids down for a family meeting. "I need to tell you something important," I said, choosing my words carefully. "Daddy has decided that he wants to live by himself, and he says he will help take care of you whenever he can. But I have been thinking, and I believe it would be better if we all went to live with Aunt Jennifer in Toronto for a while." Emma looked confused. "All of us? What about Daddy?" "Daddy has made his choice," I said gently. "He wants to be free to live his own life. So we are going to live our own lives too." The next morning, Saturday, I put the final phase of my plan into action. I called David at his new apartment. "The kids want to see you," I said. "Can you come over this morning?" He arrived an hour later, looking refreshed and relaxed in a way that made me want to slap him. He spent the morning playing with the kids, taking them to the park, acting like the fun weekend dad he apparently wanted to be. When he brought them back, I was waiting with our suitcases by the door. "What is this?" he asked, suddenly looking nervous. "Well," I said, keeping my voice perfectly calm, "you said you wanted out of our marriage, and you said you would support the kids whenever you could. I have been thinking about that, and I realized something. If you only want to be responsible for them whenever you can, then maybe it is time for me to pursue my own happiness too." His face went pale. "Sarah, what are you saying?" "I am saying that I am leaving. Tonight. I am moving to Toronto to start over, just like you are doing. The kids will stay here with you." The look of absolute panic that crossed his face was worth every moment of planning I had put into this. "You cannot be serious. Sarah, you cannot just leave the kids." "Why not?" I asked innocently. "You did. You said you would support them whenever you could. Well, now you can support them all the time." "But I cannot take care of 5 kids by myself. I have a job, I have responsibilities." "And I do not." I shot back, my calm facade cracking slightly. "I have had a job and responsibilities for 18 years, David. I have been the one getting up with sick kids, handling school conferences, managing their schedules, cooking their meals, doing their laundry, helping with homework, dealing with their problems. You have been the fun parent who shows up when it is convenient." He started to say something, but I held up my hand. "I have thought about this very carefully," I continued. "You want your freedom, and you want to support the kids whenever you can. Perfect. Now you can support them every single day. Emma can help with the younger ones. She is very capable. Jake is old enough to help too. The twins are pretty self-sufficient, and Mason. Well, Mason just needs constant love and attention, which I am sure you can provide." David was looking at me like I had grown a second head. "Sarah, this is insane. You cannot just abandon your children." "I am not abandoning them," I said firmly. "I am doing exactly what you did. I am choosing to prioritize my own happiness and well-being. I am choosing to start over. The only difference is that I am being honest about it. I walked over to Mason, who was playing with his toy cars, oblivious to the drama unfolding around him. I picked him up and held him close, breathing in his sweet little boy's smell one last time. "Mommy has to go away for a while," I whispered in his ear. "But Daddy is going to take very good care of you, okay?" Then I hugged each of the other kids, my heart breaking with every goodbye. Emma was crying, and Jake was trying not to. The twins were confused but seemed to understand that something big was happening. "I love you all so much," I told them. "And I will see you very soon." David was still standing there in shock as I picked up my suitcase. "Sarah, you cannot do this. This is not what I wanted." "But it is exactly what you asked for," I replied. "You wanted out of our marriage. You wanted to be free of the daily responsibility of being a full-time parent. You wanted to support the kids whenever you could. Well, congratulations, David. You got exactly what you wanted." I walked to the door, then turned back one last time. "Oh, and David. I took the passports. All of them. You know, for safekeeping. I would not want anything to happen to them." The realization hit him like a physical blow. Without the passports, he could not take the kids anywhere. He could not even take them to visit his mother in Mexico, something he had been planning for months. He was trapped, completely and utterly trapped, with 5 children who needed him every single day. I called an Uber and left my family home with nothing but a suitcase and a secret phone number. As the car pulled away, I saw David standing in the doorway, holding Mason, looking absolutely terrified. I flew to Toronto that night and spent the next month at Jennifer's house, working remotely and planning my next moves. Every day, I received frantic calls from David. "Sarah, Mason is sick and I do not know what to do." "Sarah, the twins got in trouble at school and I have to meet with the principal." "Sarah, Jake is asking when you are coming home." "Sarah, Emma is angry and will not talk to me." "Sarah, I cannot do this. I cannot handle all 5 of them." Each call was music to my ears. For the first time in 18 years, David was experiencing what it was like to be the primary caretaker of 5 children. He was learning what it meant to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He was discovering that parenting is not just about the fun moments. It is about the sleepless nights, the endless laundry, the constant worry, the complete sacrifice of your own needs for the needs of your children. After 6 weeks, I received the call I had been waiting for. "Sarah, please come home. I made a mistake. I do not want a divorce anymore. I want our family back." I smiled as I hung up the phone. Revenge, as they say, is a dish best served cold. And after 6 weeks of being a single father to 5 children, David was finally ready to appreciate what he had almost thrown away. When I returned home, things were different. David was different. He had learned what it meant to be truly responsible for our children, not just when it was convenient, but all the time. He had gained a new appreciation for everything I had been doing for 18 years. We went to counseling, we worked on our marriage, and slowly, we rebuilt what had been broken. David never again mentioned wanting to find himself or needing space. He had learned that being a husband and father was not something you could do whenever you felt like it. It was a full-time commitment that required everything you had to give. And me. I learned that sometimes the best revenge is not getting even. It is giving someone exactly what they think they want and watching them realize how wrong they were. The passports? I still have them. Just in case.